Okay, it's 3 o'clock. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Roll call. Sue?
Here.
Eldridge is absent and Smith is present. We're gonna skip the non-public. We don't need it. We're gonna go right into budget sheets. We're gonna start with the Selectmen's office.
You want me to go?
Yeah, hit the-
I'm just gonna hit the high spot.
Yeah, hit the high points and we'll,
There's 53 pay weeks next year, so we have to increase for an extra pay week. We also have removed the boards and commissions secretary salary from the other departments because we had it split up over zoning, conservation commission, planning board, and selectmen's office. Creates a nightmare for record keeping, so we just moved it all under the selectmen's office this year. And part-time wages is building and zoning department, because that's two different positions at part-time now. We have just corresponding increases to the other associated costs, payroll costs. Our audit is roughly 15,000 to 20,000, and our new assessing contract is 100,000. We continuously went over that line anyway the last few years as pickups increased, which are for new construction or remodels. So now we have a flat rate figure from the audit firm, from the assessing firm. Pretty much kept everything else as flat as I could. Computer maintenance is up a little bit, about 9%. The cost of antivirus software, the cost of online storage, and the licenses for Microsoft are all up like everything else in the world.
I don't have any questions on it. I reviewed it earlier today. I had a discussion with Matt. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
So I'll make a motion to approve the Selectmen's Office request of $1,067,150.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Next one, we got PD.
So the PD wages, there were some increases that were given last year for retention or early this year, but hadn't really been budgeted for. So we need to include those now. Part-time wages is way up because we've hired a contract attorney for prosecution. So with our
We took that away from, we
instead
actually have a
of
skilled attorney rather than a patrolman doing prosecution.
money well spent, way
Exactly.
better, I think. Everything else is pretty flat. Health insurance for the whole world is up, and just like the selectman's office, the computer maintenance is up 9%, and really not much else to talk about here. But I'll take any questions.
Oh, I've discussed it with you. I've met with the chief. So you have any questions?
No, I don't.
I make a motion to approve the police department budget for $1,396,200 for 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Police,
Special duty, we keep at
Yep.
25,000 every year.
police department special duty pay. That money goes out, but comes back through details. So I make a motion to approve the special duty budget of $25,000 for the police department.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Dog officer?
Flat funded. Just did away with gas and telephone stipend and moved that money into just regular pay.
Yeah, we have a new dog officer.
Very, very aggressive,
Yeah,
very
exactly.
good animal control
The
officer.
PD's very happy.
Extremely good. She's been in the same role for other towns for several years and has quite the reputation for being good.
Yeah. Any questions, sir?
No.
I make a motion to approve the dog officer budget in the amount of $14,450 for 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Insurance?
This is Primex. It's our unemployment, our workers' comp, and our general property and liability. This is what they're up a small amount this year. There's nothing we could do about it. That's what it costs.
Yep. Any questions, sir?
No, I don't know.
I make a motion to improve the insurance budget comprising of the three that Matt just stated in the amount of $162,000 for 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ambulance contract?
I have the regional ambulance meeting tonight, which should firm up our portion of the ambulance, the regional payment for the ambulance. I did the math based on the reports, because it is could be redistributed annually by the percentage of calls in each town that are part of the agreement. According to my math, it would have gone down just slightly this year, so I think 435 is very close to what it will be.
So based on the calls, you looked at, did a calculation to come up with the $14,000 reduction?
Correct.
Okay. Is that meeting tonight gonna put any more detail on that, or no?
It should solidify it.
Should solidify it.
Yep.
Okay, this could always be adjusted again in the future if
Right.
needed. Any questions, Sue? I have, make a
I
motion.
could provide reports and stuff, but
Yeah,
I never have in the past, so
No.
I have them available.
and this contract is good for 5 or 6 more years, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's a 3% increase every year, I believe, but
Yeah.
for the total, for the whole region. But yeah, I think we're out through 2029-ish with the ambulance company.
So I'll make a motion to approve the ambulance contract budget of $435,000 for 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
A lot of money. It's like 6-7% of our whole budget.
I know, it's crazy. So we're gonna move on to, which wasn't, well, actually it is, we're gonna move on to, wanna do water and sewer first, DJ? Then we'll do warrant
I got
articles.
sewer first.
All right, do sewer, right to the sewer department.
No increases other than heating fuel and vehicle maintenance, just for the, obvious reasons. Everything's gone up, the oil's gone up. But that's pretty flat line down through there. Stipend had to go up a little bit. But it's a pretty flat line budget there.
And this is funded for via the ratepayers of the sewer department,
Yep.
not the general taxpayer. You have any questions on it, Sue?
No, I did not.
I make a motion to approve the sewer budget of $244,250 for 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Water department?
For water department, good thing is the water bond is done this year, so that's not on there.
Yeah.
I did go up on, find it here. Equipment went to 5,000, and I put our maintenance and monitoring up 10,000. Just because we have some things that we wanna work on in the pump station. And we have, I don't know if everyone's seen the water tank go up, and what we did up there, we're gonna do some things up there as well. But not much of an increase. 17,000 overall, the whole budget.
I don't have any questions. Do you have any questions on it, sir?
No, I do not.
I'll make a motion to approve the water department budget and $240,780.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Wanna go right to revenues or warrant articles first?
Probably warrant articles
Okay.
before we go.
All right, let's hit the warrant articles.
First one,
Yep.
government improvements, that's within hopes of doing the cupola, doing something with that, depending on what comes up, but that's what that money is allocated for right now. Government buildings ETF, just to add to it, because we have this needs a new furnace, this has got a leak, the town hall does, and we have to do some work in the police department with mini splits.
Right.
Gonna put some new ones in there. Paving went to 450 from 300. We're just not getting enough paving done with 300,000. We've been at 300,000 for years.
It's been 300,000 for 15 years
Yeah,
probably.
so we went to 450.
And paving has went up 40-50%
Yep.
cost?
Yep.
Exactly.
Add to the highway equipment CRF. This is what we talked about, of staying at 200 every year.
This was the plan we put in 3 years ago.
Yep, this is the year that the money's gonna go into it, and not all of it's gonna come out because we're buying a 1-ton. So next year we'll buy the big truck, and
Right.
you won't have to spend any more. Greater payment is self-explanatory. That's for the payment, and it's obviously it's cheap interest rate,
Matt, you
and
wanna
then
take
Matt's
over?
got the rest of
Yeah,
it.
Matt, you
Well,
got
for
the
a
rest of
while.
Invasive species ETF every year, doing diving. They found some milfoil this year, and there may not be grant money coming in the future on that, so we definitely can't stop that anytime soon. Benefit pay, 15,000 isn't much, but we're not aware of any impending, retirees coming in 24.
So the bridge repair ETF too.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
That's just to
Yeah.
put in there because you're gonna need the money whenever we need it there.
Right.
But 25,000 is
There's
small
no
amount.
planned bridge
No
replacement, this
planned
is for the future.
bridge right now, but we have nothing red listed, but that
Right.
doesn't say that we aren't going to, so.
You know,
Solid waste disposal and recycling, ETF is,
That's for the hopes of a skid steer, there's 60,000 in there right now, right, Matt?
Yep,
So with that 50,000, we should be able to replace the skid steer over there that's like 28 years old or
at
something.
the
That's
transfer station,
yeah,
that
it's-
thing is junk, it's
yeah.
past its life.
We replaced both drive motors on it, and it's just, we gotta replace it. And then the police vehicle equipment is to get the next new Tahoe.
That's 65.
Yep,
The rec ETF is 10,000.
that's for equipment that Justin wanted.
Schools out is.
we have not received the
Yeah.
warrant article for schools out, but I know they're doing another petition warrant article this year. I'd say there's a 0% chance they won't, and they've told me they are, so I think it's good to
Yeah.
budget for it now. Library heating and cooling, TJ's talked about.
We discussed that in the previous meeting
Yeah,
too.
that's all been looked at,
Yeah.
done a heat study, everything by Todd, you've looked through everything.
Yep,
New riding mower for the cemeteries, they're desperately in need of a mower.
the Deer Run Trail ETF is the other one, which is, we talked about that in the
Oh,
previous
I'm
meeting.
skipping them, that's right, yep. And
50,000.
the collective bargaining agreement, which is salary and benefits.
Right, so I'm gonna go through each one, make a motion. I'm gonna make one motion at the end, I'm just gonna read through each one and then make one motion for all of them. You fine for that in the minutes?
Yeah, you could just probably do one as presented, I would think, like we do for every other budget.
I'm just gonna read through it again just for, Article 1, government building repair and improvements for 20,000. Article 2, add 20,000 to the government buildings ETF. Article 3, paving for 450,000. Article 4, highway equipment CRF for 200,000. Number 5, grader payment for 57,000. Number 6, add to invasive species ETF for 25,000. Number 7, add to bridge repair, replace ETF for 25,000. 8, benefit pay ETF, 15,000, that's for somebody when they retire. Number 9, solid waste disposal and rec ETF, that's for 50,000. 10, police vehicle and equipment ETC. Why do we call one ETC, one ETF?
It's a typo.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, fix that. Okay, that's an ETF for 65,000. Rec ETF, 10,000. Schools out, 45,000. Article 15, library heating cooling system, 50,000. Article 16, Deer Run Trail ETF, 50,000. Number 17, cemeteries mower for 6,000. And number 18 is the collective bargaining agreement for 97,000. I'll make a motion to approve those warrant articles as I just read.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. I'll be right back in a second.
There's a couple that got increased after that when we sent them over to TJ. Solid waste and police vehicle. Yeah, you guys all had new ones, I put them all around, yeah.
This is what I had from, I got this one.
Well, that was the earlier one before we met, but then.
So,
Don't prove you wrong.
no, that's fine. Where are we here?
The one right below it, police vehicle.
I'm gonna make two fixes. Article number 9, solid waste ETF is actually 60,000, not 50,000. And Article 10, police vehicle ETF is 70,000, not 65,000. So I'll make a motion to approve those two changes.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
This one I put the updated
No, I
one.
don't have it. This is what I have. That's all right.
Sorry.
All
I
right.
blame TJ, he had last minute changes. It's
Yeah,
his fault.
my fault.
No, I just remembered our conversation was different than what I
Yeah,
just
I'm
read.
glad you got it.
Okay, revenues. They're pretty static, or consistent from last year, not changing much. Last year we projected $3,082,230, and we're gonna project the same for this year, because they're pretty much coming in. It's a
That's
best
all we
guess,
have to
yeah.
go on.
So I make a motion to approve projected revenues of $3,082,330 for 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna move on to outside agencies. Should be a big pack there, so. So I've reviewed every one of these packs. I'm gonna throw them. Almost all of them are level funded, except for, I think, two of them. Oh no, except for, yeah, two of them. It was just two of them, but I'm gonna go through each one. So the first one is OCC Elderly Nutrition, that's the Meals on Wheels program. They've always been 20,000, they're asking for 35. Their costs have exploded on food like everything else. They've lost some additional state monies in the past. So the new amount is 35,000. Any questions on that, Sue? I'll make a motion to approve OCC Elderly Nutrition for 35,000.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
OCC Daycare, level funded for 7,000. No changes. Any questions?
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve OCC Daycare for 7,000.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Granite VNA Hospice is 14,000, level funded from last year, no changes. Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Northern Human Services in the amount of 4425, no change from last year. Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Tri-County Cap is asking for 9837. It's actually a reduction from last year, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve Tri-County Cap at 9837.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Life Ministries Food Pantry, 6,000, level funded from the previous year. Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
White Mountain Community Health in the amount of $4,780, level funded from last year. Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Aye. Ossipee Children's Fund, 22,000, level funded from last year. Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Starting Point, 9987. It's a small reduction from last year. It must be their formula. Last year it was 10,261. Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Ossipee Historical Society, 4,000, level funded. Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Kingswood Youth Center, 5,000, level funded from last year. Make a motion to approve that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Caregivers of Southern Carroll County, $2,500, level funded from last year. Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Freedom Food Pantry was 5,000. They're asking for 6,000. Again, their food costs are up. More people are using the food pantry. Make a motion to approve it for 6,000.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And 68 Hours of Hunger was 7,000 last year. It's level funded for 7,000 this year. Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Children Unlimited was 3,000 last year. They're asking for 3,000 this year. Level funded. Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Green Mountain Conservation was 2,400 last year. They're asking for 2,400 this year. Level funded. Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We received a new one, the Wolfboro Children's Center. They're asking for 5,000. Not saying what they do is not good work. There's a million agencies out there that would probably look for funding, but I don't think Ossipee should open the door to a new outside agency for additional funding. They have a budget of about $2.6 million right now. Almost every one of these is a non-for-profit. They're not a registered non-for-profit, and again, they're located in Wolfboro, and they do serve some Ossipee residents, but we already give 2.7% of our operating budget to outside agencies already. And I don't think we should open the door and this year to a new outside agency for funding. You know what
I
mean?
agree.
Yeah. So I make a motion to deny the funding for Wolfboro Children's Center they were requesting 5,000.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That one's denied. Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just thinking about it.
Sure.
Selectmen control the warrant. Do you want to just offer to put schools out on the warrant without making them do a petition? They've been funded since forever.
Well, I think getting a petition for that is no harm. It's 25 signatures. If the parents that are engaged with that program at the school want it, they should get 25 people to sign, or at least 28 probably.
Just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no, I think they should get the petition and sign it, to submit it.
I agree.
Because it's not a program in the town, it is an outside agency.
It's not a heavy lift to get 25
No,
signatures.
and if they can't get the signatures, then frankly, they don't get the funding. So. Yeah. Okay. That went a lot faster than I thought it would.
Yeah,
I think I read too fast.
you're good.
Do I read too fast for the camera?
No, not at all.
No.
Typing the minutes is a huge pleasure, let me tell you.
You wanna
What?
take care of the memo up here, and then we'll do this down there, for the transfer station. This is the operating plan and closure plan, but I thought we'd do that downstairs, but I can do this for the permit now if you don't
Yeah,
care.
yeah, okay, that's fine.
Okay, so Sue and John, this is a memo, it is a recommendation that the board appoints me as a representative to sign and accept the change of the permit right now. We have a permit for the transfer station that was given in 1985 and then was modified when they went from the incinerator to the transfer station. But this is just a regular permit, and they're doing a permit now called permit by notification. And what it is to kind of make towns to be able to make changes without going through a giant process to actually make a modification. So with the permit by notification, when we switch to that, if we want to change hours, change anything to do with operations, we just have to change it in our operation plan, which I redid, that I'll have you guys sign downstairs and look at, or look at it and then sign it next week, whatever you want to do. But if you make me the representative to sign, I can get this taken care of, because we have an operation plan and closure plan now, an updated one. We can switch to this, and then you can be more fluent with what you guys want to do. If you want to, I don't know, like I said, change the hours, change what days they're closed for holidays. We can do all that
Recycling process.
without any notification to anybody.
So you need to be the representative for the Board of Selectmen to
Yep.
be able to,
To sign this and then to make
what is it called
changes.
again?
Permit by notification.
For DES.
Yep.
Any questions for TJ on that?
That's good.
And in the memo, I just have the ability to sign. You guys still have to vote to
Accept?
make a change
To
at the
change,
transfer
yeah.
station. I can't just someday change the hours. You guys have to do
Right.
that as well, but it would give me the ability to sign and actually change it. So.
So you wanna be the rep, let me see it. Let me just.
That's the language I wanted for the memo, and then this is the new one we're gonna go for, and this is what we currently have. So just to change, they had to do this modification. We'll never have to do that again. We can just use this, and once it's done, it shows you have to make no,
This is what I'm gonna make the motion on, if you wanna read that, and then.
when I went to that class the other day, we filled this all out.
Yep.
So alls I have to do now is where we have an updated operations plan, closure plan, is fill this out and send it back to him, and then he can start the process.
Good.
That sounds good.
So I make a motion to appoint TJ Eldridge, Public Works Director, a representative to sign and accept the change of the transfer station permit to become a permit by notification through NHDES. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
We'll go downstairs and make sure the TV's not on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Can we have a copy of
Are they
that?
down on the basketball?
Yeah.
court? Wow.
Now, we gotta make a copy of this, she wants a copy?
Please.
So, did you see this in the red folder? Memo of understanding, so this is a memo of understanding between the town of Ossipee and Todd Haywood, our contract assessor. This is basically due to the reval that's occurring this year through a third-party assessor, not Todd. There's gonna be some additional adjustments that are gonna come in after these public hearings on the valuations, and there's gonna be some additional charges for that going forward, and it's gonna be the hourly rate as described in the general contract. So I'll make a motion to approve this.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You don't have to sign this one. You wanna give this to Todd, or you wanna leave it in a red folder?
Where'd the kids
Did
go?
you guys initial it or anything?
I signed it.
Oh, perfect. Red folder's perfect. Kids playing?
I have an abatement request from 20 Courthouse Square, the old Carroll County Courthouse from the county. They're requesting the taxes be abated from January 1 to September, because when it was given back to them by the Historical Society, the bill wasn't paid, and they got kinda left with it, and they shouldn't be obligated to pay it, and it's gonna be tax exempt going forward, so make a motion to approve this abatement as requested for 20 Courthouse Square. Where's the map and lot on this? Let's see, map 133, lot 22. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's signed. All right, boy, that went quicker than I thought. What else you got, TJ? You got something you can do here? Only because we're gonna be busy downstairs.
I don't know, do you want me to do the operations plan and the
Yeah, why
closure
not?
plan up here, or do you
Yeah.
want me to do it downstairs?
What, it doesn't matter whether it's here or
Okay.
downstairs. It's all
So, the Ossipee Transfer Station had an inspection the other day, and they haven't had one since, I believe it was 2008. And when they come through, our operation plan wasn't really where it needed to be. So, I took Dennis and we went down to Concord and we took a class, an introduction to operation plan, and then we actually had DES there with us so we could write it. So we wrote it, and it comes through, and it pretty much what an operation plan is someone that has no idea about the transfer station could walk in, grab this, and they could run the transfer station. So it's a pretty lengthy document. We did finish it. They looked at it. It all looked good. So some of the changes that we had to do was, if one big one is there's a waiver in here now. It's a Town of Ossipee damage freon waiver. If any resident brings in any kind of air conditioner, refrigerator, freezer, anything like that, and there's damage to it, bullet holes, punctures, anything, they have to fill this waiver out, because with the New Hampshire Clean Air Act, it's actually a felony for them to accept it. And the name of the resident goes on there, the resident's address, and they can put found this in a field, or someone dropped it on their property, have to take a license plate number, transfer station sticker, and the reason that it was damaged, and then the resident signs it, and then the transfer operator
Let me
signs
ask a
it.
question.
Yep.
The answer's probably obvious, but the highway guys are always picking up garbage, Archer's Pond Road, whatever, and they find the refrigerator shot up. Who fills that out?
So I would.
You would.
Me or Neil
Okay.
would either fill this out. We just have to have documentation now, because we're adopting this in the new permit. We have to have documentation of everything that's damaged. And we also have to have documentation now for complaints. So if someone has a complaint, there has to be that complaint on site at the transfer station. It can't be here, it has to be there. So that's a couple of the changes, but mostly it's
Is there a complaint form, or is it?
there isn't. If a written complaint comes in by someone, we just have to file it. So if it comes here, we have to give the transfer station a copy to put in the office. It's pretty much all it is. So I'm gonna have a binder full of, binder for complaints, binder for these waivers. This has to be on site, loose in there, and it has to be single-sided, single page. So this is the operating plan, and this is what we need to have in order to do that permit by notification. You guys can look at
You
it.
expand, I remember this was originally, what, 6 pages?
6 pages, I think it's 30, I don't know, it's a lot.
Yeah,
But,
this is grown.
so, there's a map in there as well that shows exactly where everything is. So if someone was there and you said the OCC goes into the recycling building, they need to know where that is. So there's a map in there that labels that as well. So then the other thing we need is a closure plan. And, oh yeah, and keep in mind that permit number will change. So this is gonna have to be voted on again. Actually, no, because I can make the.
How often they change the permit?
Well, because we're going to permit by notification,
Oh,
we have
right.
to have these done in order for that to do it. So this is a closure plan. What this is for is if Ossipee closed the transfer station down, the longest they would let me put it out is 2030. Obviously, it's not gonna close in 2030, but this plan is for if a third party come in and wanted to shut down the transfer station, this is how they would do it. It pretty much just gives, you know, the capacities and everything, what we have on site for materials, what we would do. We would just call the vendors and have them come get it, pretty much. But it's a document that says all that. We just have to have it on site in a binder, which I will give to Dennis. But there is a page to sign on the back. Both of those.
And DES has looked at these?
Yep. There will be a few things that change when we get our new permit because it has new criteria on it, but I can change it because you just made me, gave me the ability to do so.
It's weird, this has an anticipated date of closure of 2030.
Yeah.
Like we're in,
Anticipated.
someone's gonna read this and be like, why are we closing the
Yeah,
transfer
we're
station
not,
in
but that's,
2030?
I said 2200, but they didn't like that, so.
They require you to say anticipated date of
Yeah,
closure? That doesn't
yeah.
make any sense. Although, who knows what the future holds, but.
So there's a cost estimate in there for closure.
Yeah,
I put 50,000 because it really, to close that dump wouldn't really cost much. You'd
No,
actually
just-
you'd sell some stuff and
empty, the containers
empty
get
the
picked up
containers
weekly,
out,
there's
secure the
not much
building,
stuff
so,
sitting around.
yeah. If it was a landfill,
That's
then it would be
different.
expensive.
Yeah,
But
no, this is-
the only thing that would have to be maintained is the monitoring of the test wells.
Right.
But if a third party bought it, that would be responsible of them.
Right,
Really, the document you have is really nothing because we're not gonna close it. But we
No.
have to have it in order to get this permit.
okay. You got any questions, Sue?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve the closure plan and the operating plan as presented and that DES has approved. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
And like I said, those are both living they're gonna change, but
Right.
I can do it, so. Thank you, man.
You're welcome.
There's another one.
One more.
much.
You got anything else? Pat, you need the non-public or you don't?
No, it's fine.
You don't think so? No?
We obviously talked about the graffiti on Annie Nichols Road.
right.
The PD's been notified. They're gonna direct a patrol, we're gonna use some technology, try to catch them, and it's, gonna try to clean it, we're gonna try
This
to
is
clean
the worst
it.
time, this is the worst.
Yeah, we're
it's
gonna
been.
try to clean it now, but if with the cold weather it doesn't work, we're gonna try it in the spring.
Yep. When was that wall put up, 20 years ago?
I think it was 2010.
Oh, it was 20, so 13 years ago.
Penn.
It's been 20 years?
No, you said 2010, so.
I think it was
13.
2010.
Yeah.
Seems longer than that. I got nothing else. You got anything?
We're just working on the budgets, I just gotta update all the budget sheets of
Yeah.
the selectmen's recommendations for budget committee for Wednesday.
Okay. Well, we can recess. You good to recess? Okay, I'll make a motion to recess until 4:15.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
3:36.
Printed just a couple hard copies, but hopefully this will work. Okay.
Okay, it's 4:15. We're gonna reconvene the meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I'm gonna open the meeting to the first public input. If you have anything, just state your name and...
Hi, I'm Jenny Spofford from the Ossipee Public Library. We have a couple surveys out and we'd really love your input. One is geared towards family programs and the other is geared towards technology programming at the library. There are paper copies available in the Selectmen's office and we also have some at the library. We also have them online on our website and social media. And that's it.
Okay, great,
Thank you.
Next public input? Okay, looks like no more public input. We are gonna move on to the, let's see here. Bids, Matt, you got the bids? 132 Hanson?
TJ, you need that? Yep, here in my mailbox.
Hi. Thank you.
Is most people here for the aggregation power thing?
Yes.
Okay, maybe we should just move the agenda around now, just get right to that, do the bids after. Are you ready to go? Or you-
I'm not sure what's going on, I may have to just put it on the laptop, but that's not ideal, so.
All right, so then I'll do the bids and then, so these are the bids for one, yeah. These are the bids for 132 Hanson Road. This is a zoning case that we've been pursuing for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. With the court order, we got a court order to clean it up. And these are bids for that cleanup, so I'm gonna open these up. Okay, the first one is from G.W. Brooks and Son out of Freedom, New Hampshire. Let's see, what do they got here?
On the back.
It's 2 pages. No, it's not on the back. They have bid $85,845.00. That's GW Brooks. The next one is Pine River Sand and Gravel from Ossipee, New Hampshire. They have bid $74,250. We only received 2 bids.
So that, and we had 4 different companies look at it.
4 companies
The other
come.
one was Dawson Excavation, and I don't know what his, Warden? Jerry Warden.
Okay, I'm gonna put these aside for now. We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the public hearing for the Electric Aggregation Committee.
You want to drive the mouse, Stuart, or how do you want to do that?
Either that or the secret meeting.
This is Stewart from Colonial Power. We will give everyone time to ask questions. Just for the record, the Board of Selectmen had a pretty involved Q&A on this in a previous meeting, and it was filmed by Ed through Government Oversight.
Left click should work.
I probably asked at least 20 questions during that time, but Stewart here will get into the details of what we're proposing. Go ahead, Stewart.
Thank you very much. My name is Stuart Ormsby. I'm with Colonial Power Group. We're an energy consulting firm out of Massachusetts, and we're going to work on exploring a community aggregation program on behalf of Ossipee. So I'm going to give you a description of what the program's all about, some of the process in terms of moving forward if the town wishes to do so. And as I'm going to describe, it does require a town vote. So what the board has done is just taken the first step to explore whether or not the town wants to move forward with this. And so what is a community choice aggregation program? So in a nutshell, this is the town aggregating together its residents, and specifically its residents and businesses that are currently taking power supply from the utility. So it would be either Eversource or the New Hampshire Cooperative. If you're currently under contract directly with a third-party supplier, the program in no way disrupts that agreement you may have. This is just another option for consumers for probably in your whole history of you only taking power supply from your utility company. Important for this program, and this is one thing you want to state up front, it's what's called an opt-out program. And so what that means is all of the residents, all the eligible consumers I've just described will be considered in the program unless you individually elect that you want to opt out. If you want no part of that, that's perfectly fine. No one's going to force you to be in the program. So there's multiple opportunities for you to say, no thank you, I want to do something else. But the reason why the legislature created an opt-out style program is that it actually allows sort of the necessary size and scope to attract suppliers to bid on the program and to allow these programs to really attract attractive low rates. So some highlights on the benefits of these programs if you choose to move forward. Again, number one is really choice. This is another alternative to utility power supply. And one way to think about it is, when you move into town or you build a new home, you are automatically put into the utility supply option. In some respects, this is no different. So this provides another option for you instead of utility supply service. I mentioned the community buying power, leveraging the large size and scope of these programs to get attractive pricing. One of the objectives often is price stability. You, along as myself, experienced extremely high electricity supply prices over the past couple of winters. One advantage of these programs is typically we can spread that out over time. So other programs that we work with, they might lock into 2 or 3 year term contracts, so that the rate is more stable. And one important thing to recognize is sort of the strategy behind this is similar to decisions you're making in your personal life on for example, investments, where you're trying to be very strategic in your buying, right? This is no different. And so it's different than how the utility procures power supply, because what Eversource does, for example, they just follow a process. And every 6 months, they buy power on a certain date, no matter what the market prices are. I'm not being dismissive of the utilities, it's just the process they've been directed to follow. But with these aggregation programs, the programs themselves are out in the market and you can be much more strategic. And so our company is here to sort of use sort of our own experience in having done this for 16 years in other states to be strategic and try to lock in low rates as a quality alternative to utility supply. Optionality is super important. Again, you're free to come and go to the program as you wish. If you want no part of this, you do not have to participate. If maybe 4 months, maybe initially you say, no thanks, let me see how this plays out. After 5, 6 months, you're talking with your neighbors and your friends, you realize, wow, this is pretty cool. Let me opt in. You can do that, and you would opt in at the same program rate that everyone else is enjoying. So a lot of flexibility. Local control is important. What the select board has decided to move forward with is their own town program. And I like that aspect of this. So all the decision makings on contracting, on product, those decisions are going to be made here in Ossipee. You're not part of a much larger buying group where you're having to make group decisions, which has its positives but also minuses if you're not in step with the rest of the group. Product options is always important, we find. In other words, it wouldn't be just one single rate. They're likely, and this is up to the town of course, but typically a town's interested in offering 2 or maybe even 3 options. So for example, you might have one product that emphasizes the lowest price possible. And you might have a second product that has a large component of renewable power in the mix. That's important for folks. But it typically comes at a higher price point. But people can opt into that renewable power product if they wish. This is all self-funded, so there's no cost imposed on the town itself. So for example, Colonial Power as administrator for the program, our compensation is included into the program rate. And I'll tell you, our fee, our compensation is 1/10 of a penny a kilowatt hour. So let's say, for example, we go out to competitive bid for the town. The lowest price that the town decides to go with is 9 cents a kilowatt hour. The final price would be 9.1 cents per kilowatt hour, inclusive of our administrative fee. We don't get paid unless the town decides to move forward. Some folks have done well, perhaps contracting directly with third-party suppliers, and that's fantastic. You can continue to do that if you wish, but there are some challenges, I think, with the electric choice market. Other folks have not been quite so fortunate. One difference between contracting directly with a third-party supplier versus a town program, in the case of contracting directly, you're really having to accept the terms and conditions of that supplier. It's their contract that you're signing. Here, the town controls what the contract is. We put it out to bid. We tell the suppliers, these are the town's terms and conditions. If you want to bid, this is what you have to accept. So the power is kind of shifted to the buyer in this case. We already talked about choice. Let's talk about how does this impact you in terms of your current experience with Eversource of the co-op. Almost no change. Importantly, the utility companies are continuing to be responsible for keeping the lights on. So if your power goes out, you still call the co-op. You still call Eversource. You would continue to receive a single bill from those utility companies. The only thing that you would change on your bill is a single line item. So instead of Eversource power supply, it would be the town of Ossipee's power supply. If you currently receive any services from your utility company, if you're on budget billing, energy assistance, anything like that, that's not interrupted. That continues as normal. The last one, our savings guarantee. Can I guarantee this is going to save you money? I can't guarantee at all times this is going to be lower than the utility rate. The strategy that really towns undertake is we're We're always looking to get the best price possible, don't get me wrong, but sometimes they'll enter into maybe a 2 or 3 year term. And as I mentioned before, and you're probably aware, the utility companies are procuring every 6 months. So there could be periods of time, and so what we're trying to do is we're trying to grab savings over that 2 or 3 year period. There could be a 6-month stretch when utility companies are actually a little bit below the program rate. But what we found is people like sort of, once they recognize that, okay, this works, this is comfortable, I see what they're doing, this is demonstrated savings over the long term, then they just stay in the program. A couple important mentions. If you have solar at your home, you're a net metering consumer. This is sort of a work in progress, if you will, not unique to Ossipee in any stretch, but across the state. There's more work that needs to be done to allow net meter customers to more easily participate in these programs. Basically what it comes down to is if you happen to have a fairly sizable solar installation at your home such that there's maybe 2 or 3 months out of the year when you're actually pushing kilowatt hours onto the grid, your solar gen is larger than your actual consumption. If that's your particular situation, you're probably better off being with the utility company. It's just the way that their compensation structure is set up, we can't really beat it. So as I mentioned at the onset, my primary point when I mentioned the importance of this opt-out nature of the program, for net meter consumers, we're not going to automatically opt you in. It's just going to be on an opt-in basis, because first and foremost, we don't want to do any harm. So if you're better off with the utility, we want to make sure that you're still getting all that value from the utility tariff rates. But certainly, we're happy to engage with net metering customers and help them make sort of an informed decision on what's best for their particular situation. Again, we're hoping in time, but it could be a couple, 3 years before they change some of the tariff structures at the state level, where I don't have to provide this caveat. It's much easier. Staying informed, there's a lot of touch points along the way. We're having a public hearing today. We're going to have another one in a couple weeks. And we'll talk about sort of the process and next steps. But throughout the life of this program, it isn't a case where this meeting is it, and then I go away off into a corner somewhere and you never hear from me. There's going to be lots of information sessions, lots of reach outs. We're going to set up a dedicated website just for the town of Ossipee. Has lots of contact information to get in touch with us and the supplier, whoever may be serving the town over the life of this program. So here's some of the key next steps. So we've prepared, I'm really jumping down to the third bullet here on this slide. We've worked with the town to prepare a program plan, and that's been posted and I think and made available for you to take a look at. If anyone has had a chance to look through that, there's a lot of detail in it. Probably 80% of it is written just to meet the statutory requirements. So if it reads sort of quasi-legal, that's why.
If anybody wants it, it's here in hard copy. It's also on the website.
Great, thank you. And it's also written, it may strike you as being sort of general language, but that's done purposefully. You want to have, this is sort of your constitution, your master plan. But the decisions you may make over time, you want to preserve that flexibility to make those strategic decisions along the way. And we can't predict today the different product options that may come around. Maybe in a few years, a product option may be offshore wind that you want to take advantage of. But we don't want to make that too specific in the plan. Let's just see how things develop. So 2 public hearings, like I mentioned. After hearing public comments and making any incorporations to the plan, the board would then make a decision whether it wants to make that next step and put it on a warrant article for your town meeting in March. It'd go before the town for its vote and approval. If it's accepted at town meeting, then we have to file the plan with the Public Utilities Commission. So there is a a bit of a regulatory oversight to all of this. They're making sure that we, working on behalf of the town, understands all the statutory requirements going forward and so forth. The PUC approval process now takes about 2 months. There have been 15 or so towns that have been going through this process and have plans approved. I should have mentioned up front, so Colonial Power, the company that I work with, we're working with 5 towns currently in New Hampshire. So including Ossipee, Hampton, Northampton, Londonderry, and Lincoln are the 5 towns that we are formally working with, and then a host of others that we're in discussions with. So 2 of those towns I just mentioned, Hampton and Lincoln, have gone all the way through the Utility Commission approval process. They haven't yet launched their program. They haven't gone out to contract, but perhaps early next year is what they're looking at. So in the case of Ossipee, so thinking ahead, the Utility Commission would probably be approving this plan May or June of 2024, and then it would just be a matter of looking for an opportune time to go out and enter into a contract, which could be right away. It could be in the 3rd quarter of next year, but it's also a situation where if we go out to market and the utility rates, Eversource and Co-op, are actually rather good, we're not going to launch too early. We're not going to launch the program unless we can, present to you folks a real opportunity to save money. And then just to touch on a few things here, so so now thinking about when we're just about to launch the program, what happens? There's going to be another information session or sessions, another opportunity to explain to folks what's happening. And around that same time, there's going to be a mailing that goes out to all eligible consumers. And this is what's called the opt-out notice. And so it gives all the descriptions of what the program is, what all the product offerings are, and clearly gives you options on how exactly you can opt out if you wish. And again, like I said, if you're out of town that week and perhaps you get enrolled that first month and you decide, no, I don't want this, there's easy opportunities to opt out after that point. And keep in mind, if you do sort of accidentally get into the program initially, it's going to be at a savings, so you're not going to be harmed. But respecting your freedom to decide, you can opt out later if you wish. That's it. That's doing my best to describe the program for you. Any questions?
Any questions for Stuart?
What
Just state your name, please, for the record.
Oh, Mark Whitehead. What savings have you experienced in the towns that you have set up?
Sure, thank you. So like I mentioned, we've been doing this for about 16 years. So over that stretch of time, about 8 to 10% savings over the stretch of time. And like I mentioned, I mean, there are periods of time when, you're kind of equal or even maybe a little bit higher than the program rate. And then the more extreme situation was this past winter when utility rates are so high. So for example, our office happens to be in the city of Marlborough. In Massachusetts, we operate their program. So they had a rate of about 9.2 cents. The utility rate for the city of Marlborough was 34 cents. So consumers there saved over a 6-month stretch of time. The average residential customer saved $800 over that 6-month stretch. So again, it's the value of rate stability also. This shouldn't be overlooked. Yes?
Cindy Spencer, what is your usual administration fee? Is that added on to this, and also what taxes?
Right, so our administrative fee is 1/10 of a penny per kilowatt hour. And so that's added on to whatever contract you're signing. And then there's no taxes whatsoever. So there's no, the town does not have to put up any money. So it's...
I'm not asking about the town, I'm asking what we might be looking at on our bill. Would there be any additional fees other than the administration?
No, so it would just be the single program rate with our administrative fee built into that rate.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes?
Hi, Denise Castle. Can you give us a little more specific information about one of the towns, specifically many residents would be enrolled in the program, how many people did they actually get to stay in it, and what have their savings been like so far? I'm looking for something that's a little closer. Massachusetts is
Different.
very different.
Yeah, I agree.
Something a little bit closer to what we have here.
Right. So, so in the case of Hampton and Lincoln, while they're the furthest along with us, they haven't actually started their programs. I don't have any metrics to share
Okay.
with you for towns that we're administering, I'm afraid. And all of this is new for New Hampshire in general. So there isn't a lot of data yet, other than looking at other states, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Yeah, Michael Duran, I actually have a few questions for you. Last winter's rates, the supply rates were unusually high, as I think you mentioned, and that's largely because of the lack of fuel to provide the generators with what they need to produce energy. The other issue is the utilities, as I also think you mentioned, don't have any buying power. They're forced by the state to buy it a certain way. So you obviously have the buying power, which is a plus. How does your company and how will your suppliers get around the lack of fuel to keep the rates low in the winter?
Yeah, and we don't have a special sauce on that. So I think you're alluding to the reality of we're buying in the same market that the utilities are. So we're not able to duck or avoid the same fuel constraints that you're talking about. So it's about buying strategy and being able to be more strategic in buying, as opposed to utilities that just follow a 6-month process.
Okay. All right, next question. Can a consumer go back and forth? So, and is there a penalty on the utility if I decide to go with you and try to go back? Do I get charged 6 months worth of back supply rates or something like that?
Yeah, thank you. Excellent question. So no, for residential customers and small commercial customers, you can go in and out of the program as you wish. There's no exit fee. There's no additional fee for coming in. If you exit the program and come in, say 6 months later, you would come in at whatever the program rate is.
Okay.
Now, I did say residential, small commercial purposely because, and what I'm about to say is going to be up to the town. It's their terms and conditions. But what we have found works well is to treat large, if there are any really large commercial enterprises in town, they would be able to come and go, but at a market-based rate. And that's in order to protect the value of the program really for residential and small commercial businesses. Large commercial enterprises have a lot of options available to them. They don't really need the town program, so we treat them a little differently.
Okay. And lastly, it's more a request to the town, but also I'll direct it to you as well. I'm not sure the current history of savings on aggregation programs. I know early on, Cape Light Compact, for example, who I'm sure you're familiar with, they weren't saving people money. You, to your credit, said that you can't guarantee savings. What I would hope the town would do is be very clear about that, because there are some people who want the savings, and if they're not available, they're not interested. There are other people who would like the levelizing of the bill, which I think is kind of what you're doing here. So I think it's important to just let people know. I have a philosophical disagreement with opting out. I personally think it's done because people are just too busy, too distracted, not interested. If you don't opt out, you get put in. It's like the telephone companies back in the 90s, where they used to call it slamming, where you got put on a company whether you liked it or not. This is very similar to that. It's a little more above board, I get that. But again, I would hope that the town would be very clear. If you go forward with an opt-in, to let folks know in whatever way you possibly can that they are being opted in. Because once they're in, they're not going to really look and do anything about it, and it may or may not benefit them. I think what you're doing here is noble. I think it's worth looking at. But I think people need to be cautious about some of the potential downsides. Not saving any money is one of them. You mentioned last winter's rates, and I would too if I were you. Unusually high. This winter may be the same. I really don't know. But I just don't know how, other than your buying power, you're going to avoid those same lacks of fuel with the people that you contract with.
Yeah.
So if the town could just be, as open as possible about the ups and the downs, not just the benefits, but the potential pitfalls, I think you'd be doing the residents a service.
I want to ask a question of the audience here. How many people here, you just show you, raise your hand, shop for their electric rate currently? I'm just curious. So 1, 2, so 3, 4 people, 4 out of about 20. So that's what this program is basically designed to help. The overwhelming majority of the people are accepting the default rate that Eversource or Co-op is setting. I shop my own rates. I've been doing it for a decade, ever since they did deregulation, however many years ago. And my rates are always exponentially lower than the default service rate. And I think that's the goal of this program, is to shop the same way I shop now as an individual, that the overwhelming majority of the people that don't currently shop, the town's gonna be then shopping for them by default getting a lower rate. So that is ultimately the goal here. So,
One more thing?
Yep, go ahead.
On those lines.
Sure.
Certainly by contracting with someone like Stewart, you've got a leg up because you've done this for a long time. You do this yourself,
Yeah.
you've done it for a long time. The average person,
Right.
not so much. So
Right.
that's all I'm asking, is just be upfront, not only about the potential benefits, but about the potential pitfalls. And let everyone know that they're going to be opted in and have to opt out if they want to. That would be my request.
Thank you, excellent, I appreciate that.
Go ahead, Dan.
Well, one thing I noticed, Damon Steer, call me son, one thing I noticed is like all the towns around here that are doing this and pursuing it to their credit, seem like they're choosing a different company to work with. But if, say, if Ossipee convinced all the towns in Carroll County, for example, to go with Colonial, and I know working as a group can have its own challenges, but like, if you had, 50,000 people as opposed to 4,000 people, could you really lower the rate?
Yeah, no, thank you for asking. So, so a couple things. We have been talking with other towns in Carroll County, and also I think I mentioned that we're currently working with Lincoln. One thing that we've done with some of the relatively smaller communities that we work with is we call them loose buying pools. So it's not a formal agreement where they're all agreeing to sort of socialize each other and have a single rate. But they'll agree to go out to market at the same time. And the suppliers bidding understand that it's a winner take all. And so, but how we do it differently is that each town gets to make its own decisions on the products that it wants. It gets its own separate rate based on its particular load characteristics. But it can take advantage of, like to your point, of perhaps an even larger buying pool that attracts larger rates. But a follow-up, if I may, but the kind of the Walmart effect only takes you so far. And what I mean by that is, Ossipee by itself is plenty large enough to attract very competitive pricing. That's been our experience. I mean, we do have some much smaller clients where maybe there's only 800 residents in the program. They do really need to kind of get together in these loose buying pools in order to attract suppliers. That's not going to be an issue with Ossipee. And another last point, it's kind of interesting because some of the communities we serve are actually quite large. We work with the cities of Lowell, the town of Franklin, and the city of Boston is one of our clients. And so you might think, wow, the city of Boston must get fantastic rates. When you kind of look at all the clients we work with, they're somewhere in the middle. So in other words, the economies of scale only get you so far. You reach a point where it doesn't matter anymore.
Just follow
Go
up.
ahead, Dan.
Does it matter if a town is contiguous, like if Ossipee added Madison and Freedom as opposed to Lincoln and, I don't know, Jackson? Would that matter at all if they're contiguous?
No, because it's the market itself is a New England market, so no, there really isn't.
And we could even sort of coordinate with, a similar community in Massachusetts and get some of that.
Actually, that would probably be overcomplicating it just because there's differences in regulatory oversight. New Hampshire is much better.
If I could follow up with the board, I don't know, do the selectmen see any value in trying to coordinate with the other towns on their buying schedule so you can have your independence, but also take advantage of
So
economies
and
of
that's
scale?
really would be your question. Do you think that, to his question, that would have any benefit somehow? If I assume these other towns would have to choose Colonial for that to work,
Yes,
correct?
right.
That's what it would come down to.
Right, but other towns are choosing, some towns are choosing Colonial, so I think it seems like what he's saying, please correct me if I'm wrong, but if, to a certain degree, if several towns were to coordinate their buying schedule, they could have autonomy in terms of what they offer their customers, but also get some economy and scale in the bulk purchase.
Yeah, I think it sort of, in the case of Ossipee, no harm in doing that, but you don't need to. Like, again, some of the other smaller towns, they really need to be thinking about doing that. But one thing on my mind, and I haven't broached the subject with the town of Lincoln, is perhaps if Ossipee was interested in this loose buying pool, Lincoln might be interested in participating. That's a community that we're working with currently.
So it'd probably benefit Lincoln more than Ossipee, but.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Same skills, we're using the aggregate for quite a while, but when I get the bill, I call it two parts. One is the supply, and I got the delivery.
Yep.
What would happen with this? Because that means, my question is right now, I get part of my bill is based upon Eversource,
Right.
and the other part is the aggregate. So would Eversource still be somehow included for that in the bill?
Yeah, so you would continue to get a single bill from Eversource. You really wouldn't see any change. So all the rates that Eversource typically charges you for the delivery side is still there, it doesn't change. And then, like you said, on the supply part of your bill, it's really just a single line item. And so,
Yeah, I understand that, so
Yeah.
that, so that,
yeah, and so the line item would change, but other than that, you're still going to continue to get the Eversource bill like you ordinarily do. You would continue to pay Eversource, and then there's an arrangement where Eversource compensates the town supplier for the money that is collected.
Good.
Cindy Spencer, may I ask the select board a question?
Sure.
Will the out-of-town landowners be able to speak at town meeting to the specific article if it progresses that far?
So non-resident, non-voters, you mean?
Right. You
That-
know,
that would be
they're
up to the-
landowners, but they don't claim Ossipee as the
So
primary.
the town meeting, the legislative body for that day, has to vote to authorize a non-resident or non-voter to be able to speak on the town meeting floor.
Okay,
But they definitely won't be able to vote on it. Speaking will be optional based upon the legislative body, but the vote, they cannot vote on it.
okay.
Kathleen might add, I just was curious when you were talking about delivery, that Eversource would still be delivering. Would their rate of delivery go up because you're not buying from it?
No, it won't change the delivery at all, no.
Okay.
And when they're buying the power supply on your behalf, they're really doing it as a service, like there's no markup to it. So if the town moves forward and you're on this program, they're really pretty indifferent to it. It's just, because they do it as a service. Yeah.
I can just add to that. So like I said, I shop for my power now, and to Stuart's point, you have your delivery side, which is Eversource, but where my supplier side, it says Direct Energy, because that's where I currently buy my power from. I would assume if I switch to this, it would say Ossipee Aggregation Program.
Correct. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Go ahead, sir.
Just one question, Ron Larry. You mentioned the town is responsible for contracting and something. The select board is responsible for?
Well, I don't recall exactly what I said, but just but it's a great lead into sort of we try to provide turnkey services so that the town doesn't have to devote much resources. But having said that, the town makes the decisions. In other words, we're administrator. We're not making power supply decisions for them. We'll be, again, we're in the market every day, so we're watching things and looking for good times to buy. So we're going to be approaching the town and saying, hey, we think maybe we should be thinking about locking in a contract. But the actual decisions on when to buy, what the products are,
That's up to the town.
Okay, so it's all contractual and has nothing to do with any physical issues?
Correct, yes, yeah. Yes.
So, in that process, when the cost of the product, and you watching it, making a decision about that, has there ever been a time when you have problems with it because of the rates and stuff like that, and the person who really wants it to buy it, you're the contractor, if you will? I'm gonna have a problem with words here, and I apologize for that. Have you had trouble with that before, where the rates change and it happens in a period of time that causes a problem, and the rates stays upper than you want it to be, and others have gone down or something? Problems with it, that's what I'm trying to say. And I'm having a problem with words, so I apologize.
That's okay. So are you thinking of a circumstance where the town has a contract with a supplier and the supplier is asking to change the rate?
No, but help you what, if we have a certain rate and you're working on, it's getting to time, I think you said just a few minutes ago, maybe you should consider this rate for whatever reason.
Yeah, maybe
And some of those periods, are that a short period of time, or?
Apologies if I need to clarify. So let's say the program is launched and the town has entered into its first contract and they decide to sign a one-year contract. And so let's say it started in January of whatever year, and now we're 6 months into it. We're not going to be waiting for like the very end of the contract to call Matt and say, hey, let's have a conversation. You've got 2 weeks left on the contract. We're always going to be looking for a good time to buy, which could be, we finally launched the program, yay, and here we go. We're only 2 months in. We're already calling Matt, hey, it's a great time to buy the next 12 months. So, and maybe way off based on what your question is, but it's that kind of thing. We're always looking for a good time for the next contract.
Go ahead, Edwina.
My question is to the penalty. So there's no penalty if we opt in or out,
Right.
go back and forth with you. Is there a penalty on the other end with Eversource?
No.
Thank you.
Damon, go ahead.
So I guess I'm confused because let's say, if Eversource is buying every 6 months and you say, hey, let's do a 2-year deal, then wouldn't you have less flexibility than Eversource? Because they're buying every 6 months and you would be 2 years.
Yeah, I think the difference being with Eversource, all the utilities do this, and they're just following the direction of the Utility Commission. They literally have a day on the calendar. I buy November 1st, I buy May 1st, I buy November 1st, independent of whether that's a good or bad time. It's just a process. So it's not too difficult to be not locked into a process and just looking for good times in the market to buy.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, like, let's say you have a 2-year, you think a deal with Damon's Electric Power Supply, and my rate was good, and then it was worse. And then it got, and then Edwina's power supply rate is, or like, let's just say Edwina and I are power supply companies. I think a deal will do for 2 years, but her rate is better. Would you break the contract with me and go to her, or how that?
No, I mean, it's best for everyone that, if the town were to break a contract, anticipate what happens with the next time they seek power supplies. The supplier says, no thanks. No, they're always going to, both parties, the supplier and the towns, will always carry out the full term of the agreement. And I keep, throwing out 2 years as an example, but the terms that the town may be interested in, it could be 6 months, it could be a year, it could be 2 or 3 years. Again, it's sort of the rule, roughly speaking, it's the rule of thumb is if forward prices are at historic lows, you want to go long, you want to have longer term contracts. If they're rather high, then you tend to want to do short term contracts.
And it's not like day trading where you're calling Matt every 15 minutes saying, oh, Damon's power supply is cheaper than Edwina's. Let's go buy his and not hers. And then
No,
15 minutes later, oh, hers are better, so let's switch.
no, I mean, because there's benefits in not overcomplicating it, keeping it simple. It's just easier, for us to explain to residents of what we're doing.
Alright, and so like, you do a 1-year contract, it's set for a year, and then you're not buying from any other supplier for that year, essentially.
Well, I guess I put it a little differently. So from your perspective as being a resident and a consumer in the program, you're going to have a rate for a year, and then there's going to be another contract at a different rate. It could be a year, it could be 18 months. But behind the scenes, we may be working with the town on when exactly we may be buying those contracts. I think
Yeah, I apologize if this is a little obscure, but your answer to her question made me think of something. Eversource or the co-op would collect the money as they always do, and then the supply side, they would turn over to you. In this economy where people, for whatever reason, can't or don't pay their bills, you're going to get paid for something that presumably may not be paid for by some customers. How does that work out? I mean, because eventually that would go into the utilities rates, and we'd all pay for that, but you would have been made whole with money that never came in. Am I being clear? I don't know if I am or not.
No, you are. So the state right now is, the utility commission is about to, or we think, they're about to approve for all the utility companies what's called a purchase of receivables program. Basically what that is, it's credit insurance that the utility companies provide to any supplier serving a customer, whether that supplier is serving an aggregation program or it's direct energy serving an individual customer. So the way it works is for a fee, a supplier has to pay a fee to the utility company. In exchange for that fee, the utility company pays the supplier independent of whether or not the customer pays its bill. So it's credit insurance. And the fee isn't terribly big, quite honestly. So it's pretty economical. But what's important about that is, now when we think in context of aggregation programs, the statute requires these are must-serve programs. So in other words, if Direct Energy, for example, happens to be the winning supplier of this program, they can't deny service to anybody. It's all comers. And so this credit insurance program was essential so that the suppliers know that they're going to get paid no matter what.
Great, thank you.
Yep. Yes?
I'm going back to the contract for a second. If we're in a year contract or a 2-year contract, and 6 months in, there's an amazing rate somewhere, how soon can we book that to continue at the end of the contract we're already in? Or can we even?
No, we can, exactly. So, yeah, if there's a world event that just causes prices to collapse, and it happens. So even though the town's locked in for another 6 months, that doesn't matter. And that contract's not going to get disturbed. But we have this massive drop in prices. We're picking up the phone saying, Matt, we need to buy. We need to take advantage of that. And that new contract would commence at the end of your existing contract. Yeah.
And there's no limit to when you could start something like that, or how much?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you as a consumer could make the choice to opt out and get the best rate available on the free market anyway, potentially in that scenario, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, good point. Right. Yeah.
Lynn Parker. Is there a minimum amount of consumption required for this product?
Right, no, there's not. And so, thank you for that question. So, there's an amazing amount of consistency with these programs, and what I mean is, it's really interesting that the initial opt-out rate is pretty consistent, town over town, or independent for the demographic and so forth. So, and so the suppliers we work with have been serving these kinds of programs for a number of years, and so they have all that data. So if let's say, for example, Ossipee comes in at the higher end, and there's actually a 15% opt-out rate, which is quite high typically. The suppliers are accustomed to that. There's no fee, there's no penalty. they just absorb that as part of their pricing.
Who's the current company? Who's our current electric company?
Who we have
For the
now? Who we
town.
lock- We're locked in now with who, man?
It's called Constellation, they serve municipalities. We have like a 5-year deal with them. It's been very good.
Ossipee is unique as county seat. What about like the county jail, the nursing home, the courthouse, all the county buildings? Will they be able to opt out, or are they going to be automatically, I know they'll be automatically if this is an opt-out program, but
Yeah, I mean, I think chances are extremely good that they're already under contract directly with third-party suppliers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Go ahead, man.
Ann Evans, who do we contact if we go out of state for the winter? Do we contact you if we want to close down? Do we contact PSNH, Eversource, I mean, or who is it? Or do we contact both?
No, when you say close down, you literally mean physically close
Right.
down?
We
Yeah.
turn off power, and then we pay Eversource $15 when we come back and they resume the power.
Yeah, so you still have to do that with the utility company, for sure.
But we don't have to do it with the aggregate. Okay.
Correct. Now, when question for you. I've never had this question before. So, no electricity, it's completely shut off. Okay, so what would happen then is, so you'll do that as you normally would, you contact the utility, and we will get an automatic drop. Like, you don't have to notify us also, it'll just happen automatically.
When we come back and we notify Eversource, are we automatically opted back in if we're with you, or we have to get in touch with you to opt back in?
Exactly, the latter. Yeah, you'd have to contact us. Yeah.
so it's you that we contact to opt in and opt out?
Yeah, I mean, I'm being, I should be more specific. So to opt in, opt out, there's going to be multiple ways. We have like I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a dedicated website where you can do it right online. That website and other materials we're going to bombard you with will have, our phone number and ways to contact us. You can if the program is up and running and it's something that you're jumping into sort of midway through, you can also contact the town supplier directly. That's another avenue. They'll get you into the program or out of the program if you wish. So there's going to be multiple ways.
Sarah again, Colonial Power as a group, a business, it was a certain size when you created it. What is the difference between when they started, the number of, I'm not sure what, like say you had 100 businesses created, working your electricity that way, and now it's 1,000 instead of 100? I mean, how has your company grown yourself?
Oh, how many municipal clients do we have?
Yeah.
So we are currently working with about 95 in Massachusetts and 5 in New Hampshire.
And your company, I'm assuming there are other companies like yours.
Yes.
And where are you on the range are you small, are you medium, are you large?
Right, so we're, and I apologize for always referencing Massachusetts, but so in Massachusetts, we're the largest there in terms of the number of communities we serve and also the number of customers participating in the program. So there's about 500,000 residents that we're administering down in Massachusetts.
Okay, in New Hampshire, you're working on that now, but what number of customers, if you will, for not having a better word, but
Yeah, so
expect you.
so we're under contract in 5 communities in New Hampshire, including Ossipee.
And how many customers then? You said it was.
Yeah, no, I haven't really tallied up, but probably, I'm not sure. I mean, Londonderry is the largest of the 5 I mentioned. There's probably about 40,000 there. So maybe 100 to 200,000.
In Massachusetts, there are multiple companies who do this, and I'm not gonna have the right word, but don't they have a group? I can't think of the word. I have some language problems sometimes, and this is one of those, but I can't even have a name. Isn't it when you go looking for a round of electric, they have names to call them, like,
Do you have a group of companies that do what you do, that you work with?
Oh,
they're shared together?
oh, are we teamed up with another company?
Yeah,
So,
and you going, there's a word for what you're going after, that group. I forget the word, it's a company down in Massachusetts, because I considered going the advocate in Massachusetts one year, and I can't tell you why, I lost the words.
so I'm not sure if this was your question, but we do have a partner that we're working with here in New Hampshire called Freedom Energy and Logistics. I haven't really mentioned them until now because I didn't want to confuse the issue, because the town has a single contract with Colonial. We take full responsibility for administering the program, but Freedom is working with us. You could consider them a subcontractor. They're not really a subcontractor, but they provide an extra bench strength. They're a New Hampshire company. They've been doing energy consultancy work here in New Hampshire for 15, 20 years, largely with C&I customers and municipal clients. And so they're honestly a little better plugged into the legislative process here and the regulatory process than I am personally. I've been doing work here in the state for quite a few years myself, but they just add to our strength. And so we're working with them sort of on the side. I don't know if that's what you were...
I think so.
Okay.
Any other questions from the public? No?
What are the next steps?
So there's going to be another public hearing,
Yeah,
and then from there, it's going to go to town meeting on the warrant.
that's right.
Any idea when the next hearing will be?
We haven't coordinated that yet, I would think in December probably.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Probably December, but it's not scheduled yet.
Okay.
Is it gonna be not at 4:15 so that people who work can come?
That's up to the board, but this is typically the time that we hold them, so it would be out of the ordinary to not, but hasn't been scheduled yet.
Well, we'll watch for the agenda and we'll see what time it's going to be. It's always a surprise. Any other questions? So just to recap, I'm going to try to simplify this so there's no confusion. This is going to be an opt-in program. Those that currently shop for their electricity can continue to shop. So for example, I have my own contract now. I'm not going to be opted in because I have an existing contract.
Correct.
If I choose to drop my current supplier, I then can opt in. And if I choose then to opt out at any time because I find a better rate outside of what the town's providing, you can opt out at any time with no penalty.
Correct.
I mean, I look at this as, this is just a win for those who aren't paying attention to their bill, not paying attention to their electric bill. It's going to give them the option to get a lower rate. The town's going to do it for them. If those who want to continue to shop can continue to shop, like myself, or if I want to join the town's program, I can freely do that. So it's almost no strings attached, is the way I'm seeing this. There's no traps, there's no hidden doors. It's kind of a free and open market. So,
Jonathan,
yes.
I was under the impression it's an opt-out program.
Yes, but if you have an existing current contract like myself, they will not opt me in with an existing contract until my contract. If my contract expires, they'll get notified and then I'll be opted in by default.
Okay.
And then if I want to choose to opt out at any time like
So
anybody.
you personally need to opt in, but many of us would have to opt out if we chose not to.
Correct, right. So if you wanted to, like I've been shopping, I wish more people took advantage of that, but most people don't pay attention to their electric bill. They just pay whatever comes in through their front door. Shopping for it is a big savings. I was paying 8 cents a kilowatt when Eversource was charging 20 because I was locked into a contract. So that's just an example of the savings. So, go ahead, Damon.
So how much work on the town how much work would this add for Matt or the Board of Selectmen in terms of, you're opted in, the town votes for this, say, next year, and he calls, I guess, periodically whenever the contracts are, whenever there's a time to buy for whatever year, and then someone would make a decision on, would that be the town administrator, the selectmen,
It would
or?
be a vote of the board, but all the processing is gonna be handled by Colonial.
Right.
So basically on the town end, it would be, a periodic phone call and then dealing with the vote to.
He would be contacting the town administrator, and then it's gonna be relayed to us as a board.
Okay, and then this would happen, every couple of years or every year? or
Well, it's depending upon the term of the contract, we'll determine how often we're shopping, yeah.
Right.
Go ahead, Edwina.
I'm just a little confused about, I think somebody asked, I think Matt said that the town is already contracted, has been contracted with somebody, and they do a good job. Is it
For the facilities of the town, so like the schools and the town buildings.
So like I shop for my own personal power, the town shops for its own personal power right now.
Okay, so the town wouldn't be involved in this then?
The town's facilities already have a contract for power supply.
Okay,
When our contract is up, then we could be part of the program.
okay. And what changed? I mean, like, why all of a sudden are you in New Hampshire? Was there a big regulation that went on? I mean, what?
The legislature.
There was a Senate bill a couple of years ago, a new law that allowed this to happen.
Okay.
You'll see it down in Keene, there's other municipalities that are already doing it.
Oh,
If you search New Hampshire electric power rates, you'll see a web link set up by the state's energy department, and you can actually shop on there for all your rates. That's where I go, shop all for your rate, and you'll see all the community power programs on there now.
thank you.
Yeah.
Lynn Parker, would you happen to have a figure of what per kilowatt hour your service is providing now?
Oh, a rate right now?
Right.
So right now, if we were actually getting pricing in New Hampshire for say a one-year term, it's about 11.5 cents a kilowatt hour. That's sort of the market rate right now. So prices have been pretty stable over the course of this year. I mean, we came down from those horrific rates, and they've been stable at a higher level, but stable nonetheless. So I would anticipate when you see the rate change for Eversource and coming up starting in February, it may be in that 11.5 cent range, thereabouts.
Currently, co-op is lower.
Yes, yeah, and they do a little different procurement process, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing and move on to the regular selectmen meeting process. Thank you for coming. Go on to the red folder, sir, what you have there? Yeah, want to give it let the noise calm down a little bit, and then we'll go back to it.
I have a check voucher total. Payroll for week ending November 4, 2023. Wages, $34,431.52. Payroll taxes, $9,508.55. Total payroll, $43,940.07. Accounts payable as of 11/4/2023. Accounts payable general fund total, $112,186 $186.38. Water, $112.63. Sewer, $744.17. Total accounts payable, $113,043.18. Total fund payments, $156,983.25. I make a motion, we approve this check voucher total.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have the Selectmen's meeting of Tuesday, October 10, 2023. I make a motion, we approve these minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have the Selectmen's work session, Monday, October 16, 2023. I make a motion, we approve these work session minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have the Selectmen's meeting of Monday, October 16, 2023. I make a motion, we approve these minutes.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have the water sewer, excuse me, warrant in the amount of $16,098. I make a motion, we approve this water sewer warrant.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. That's what I have.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge, we got our first reimbursement from FEMA for $201,000. This goes directly to TJ for his hard work and his attention to detail with all the reporting that went on with all the storms. We're probably going to have, he deserves it, he does an incredible job. There's going to be an additional monies coming in on this also. I don't want to give the amount because it changed on us a few times, but it's going to be, it probably should be this amount, I would imagine, or more.
A little bit more, yeah.
And you'll be meeting with FEMA.
So you'll see us tomorrow. There'll be a whole convoy, Neil and I, and then all of FEMA, hazard mitigation, Homeland Security will be with us tomorrow. And we go around and they inspect all the places that we have to fix. We got it declared from July 9th to July 16th. And tomorrow will be the scope meeting where we'll actually start the process of doing the workbooks and getting refunded for what we spent, 75%. Some of it is 100%, some different categories. But we have to get that last check for the December storm. They have to inspect Ossipee Mountain Road and Pine Hill Road, the pavement. When that's done, it should move pretty quickly and we should see payment before the end of November.
That's good, excellent. Since we're on finances, I just want to talk about the town audit again. I've talked about this in previous meetings, but the audit again, this is the best audit the town has ever had. There's almost no deficiencies in it other than minor things which are really not relevant. That goes to the direct work of our finance director, Andrea, upstairs. The unassigned fund balance, which is the financial health of the town, is incredible. It's sitting at $2.6 million. When I started as a selectman, it was only $800,000. And during that time, we've bought grader, loader, we've done more work, repairs, and we've just improved the town overall with that, and cutting the tax rate for the last 2 years with increasing this fund balance. So the town is sitting on a real good financial footing right now, and it goes to the hard work of everybody, the board, people upstairs, the employees. I just want to bring that to light again. We have a quick non-public for the,
You don't want to take them under advisement?
no. I'm going to make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A3 2C. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, Sue?
Yes.
And Smith is yes. We'll be back down in a few minutes.
5:22.
Okay, we plan to, continue the meeting after that.
Yep. Okay, we have two bids for the cleanup of 132 Hanson Road. The one from GW Brooks for $85,845, and then the one from Pine River Sand and Gravel for $74,250. I make a motion to award the bid to clean up 132 Hanson Road to Pine River Sand and Gravel for $74,250.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next meeting is gonna be next Monday, the 13th, for the Selectmen. There's a budget meeting at 6:30 on November 8th at the Freight House. Anything else from Matt or TJ? Nothing? Sue, you have anything? Last public input, anything?
I know you're looking at me.
You must have something, Dallas.
No, I'm trying to stay neutral this week. I'll wait till next week, you know. I got a few issues, but I'm not gonna bring them all up.
Okay. Nothing else?
So for the record, you sealed the minutes?
Yep.
And you came out at 5:26?
Mhm.
Sorry, my audio didn't go well.
Yes, yep, I sealed them, yes, exactly. Okay, nothing further, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Wednesday and Thursday.
But I gotta get stuff upstairs.
You're not getting the